The little girl was shaking so badly that she could barely hold the glass. It was only a glass of milk, but to her, it was the first real meal she had tasted in 2 days. She looked up at the millionaire who had paid for it, wiped her tears with the sleeve of her torn sweater, and whispered, "I'll pay you back when I grow up." The man smiled sadly. He had no idea that those innocent words would one day come back to save his life. If you enjoy emotional stories about kindness, second chances, and unexpected twists, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments whether you believe one small act of kindness can change a life. It was a cold November evening when Daniel Carter walked into a small roadside cafe after a long business meeting. At 42, Daniel was one of the wealthiest businessmen in the city. His company owned hotels, apartment buildings, and several technology firms. People knew him as a powerful millionaire who could buy almost anything. But nobody knew how lonely he felt. 5 years earlier, Daniel had lost his wife in a car accident. Since then, his expensive mansion had felt more like a prison than a home. That evening, as he waited for his coffee, something outside caught his attention. A little girl stood near the cafe window. She was perhaps 8 years old. Her shoes were worn out. Her sweater was too thin for the freezing weather, and her hair was messy from the rain. She wasn't begging. She was simply staring at a glass of milk on a customer's table. Daniel watched her for several seconds. Then the girl quickly looked away, pretending she hadn't been watching. Daniel walked outside. "Are you hungry?" The girl shook her head. "No." Her stomach growled loudly. Daniel raised an eyebrow. The girl looked embarrassed. "I'm not hungry," she repeated softly. "I'm just waiting for my mother." "Where is she?" "She'll come soon." Daniel looked around. The street was almost empty. "How long have you been waiting?" The girl hesitated. "Since yesterday." Daniel's heart tightened. He walked back into the cafe and ordered a large glass of warm milk, bread, eggs, and soup. When the food arrived, the girl stared at it as if someone had placed treasure in front of her. "Go ahead," Daniel said. She looked at him suspiciously. "How much?" "Nothing. I don't take things for free." Daniel smiled. "You can pay me someday." The girl immediately sat down. She ate slowly at first, then faster as hunger took over. Daniel noticed she kept one piece of bread hidden under her sweater. "Why are you hiding that?" "For my mother." Daniel looked away, swallowing the lump in his throat. When she finished the milk, she carefully placed the empty glass on the table. Then she stood up straight. "My name is Lily. I'm Daniel." She held out her tiny hand. "Thank you, Mr. Daniel." Daniel shook it. Then Lily looked directly into his eyes. "I'll pay you back when I grow up." Daniel chuckled softly. "I'll hold you to that." But Lily didn't laugh. She was serious. "I promise." That night, Daniel drove home thinking about the little girl. The next morning, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He returned to the cafe. Lily was gone. He asked the owner about her. "She comes sometimes," the owner said. "Her mother works odd jobs. They don't have much." "Do you know where they live?" The owner hesitated. "Why?" "I want to help." The owner finally gave him the name of the neighborhood. Daniel spent the next several days searching. Eventually, he found Lily and her mother living in a tiny apartment above an old mechanic shop. Her mother, Maria, opened the door. When she saw Daniel, fear immediately appeared on her face. "Who are you?" "I'm the man who bought your daughter some food." Maria froze. "You found us?" "I just wanted to make sure she's okay." Maria looked down. "She shouldn't have taken anything from you. It was just dinner." "You don't understand," Maria whispered. Daniel noticed bruises on her wrist. What happened? Maria quickly covered them. Nothing. Before Daniel could ask another question, a man's voice came from inside. Who is at the door? Maria's face turned pale. A man stepped into the hallway. His name was Victor. He was Maria's brother and Lily's legal guardian. Daniel immediately sensed something was wrong. Victor smiled. Family matter. You should leave. Daniel looked at Lily. The little girl was standing behind her mother, terrified. Daniel left, but he didn't forget what he had seen. The following week, Daniel quietly hired someone to investigate. What he discovered shocked him. Maria had once been an accountant for a construction company. She had been fired after refusing to participate in a financial fraud scheme. The company had blamed her for missing money. She lost her job, her savings, and eventually her home. But there was more. The company had been secretly owned by one of Daniel's business partners. And the financial records suggested Maria had been telling the truth. Daniel confronted his partner, Richard. Richard became furious. Why are you digging into something that happened years ago? Because an innocent woman lost everything. Richard stared at him. You don't know what you're getting involved in. Daniel's voice hardened. I know enough. Richard lowered his voice. Drop it, Daniel. Daniel didn't. He reopened the old investigation. Meanwhile, Victor became more aggressive. He wanted Maria to sign documents transferring Lily's custody to him. Maria refused. One rainy night, Victor arrived drunk. Lily heard shouting from the apartment. Then came the sound of something breaking. She ran outside. Daniel happened to be driving through the neighborhood. He saw Lily standing barefoot in the rain. He stopped immediately. What happened? Lily grabbed his hand. Please help my mother. Daniel rushed upstairs. He found Maria injured but conscious. Victor was gone. Daniel called an ambulance. At the hospital, Maria finally told him the truth. Richard threatened me years ago, she whispered. He said if I exposed the fraud, he would destroy my life. Daniel looked at her. Why didn't you tell anyone? Maria gave a bitter smile. Who would believe a poor woman against powerful men? Daniel sat beside her. I believe you. Those 3 words broke her. Maria began to cry. For the first time in years, someone believed her. Daniel used his influence to reopen the case. The evidence was overwhelming. Richard had stolen millions and created false records to blame Maria. Victor had also been receiving money from him to keep Maria silent. Richard was arrested. Victor was arrested for assault and fraud. Maria was finally cleared. But the story didn't end there. Daniel offered Maria a job at his company. She hesitated. I don't want charity. It isn't charity, Daniel said. I need someone honest. Maria accepted. Months passed. Her life slowly changed. Lily went back to school. She had proper shoes, warm clothes, books, and a safe home. But she never forgot the glass of milk. Every few weeks, she visited Daniel's office. One afternoon, she placed a small envelope on his desk. Daniel opened it. Inside was a child's handwritten note. It said, I still owe you. Daniel smiled. You don't owe me anything. Lily shook her head. Yes, I do. Years passed. Daniel's company continued to grow. Lily grew up too. She studied medicine because she wanted to help people who couldn't afford treatment. Daniel attended her graduation. As Lily walked across the stage, Daniel's eyes filled with tears. After the ceremony, she approached him carrying a small box. What's this? Daniel asked. Your payment. Daniel laughed. You remembered that? I promised. He opened the box. Inside was a simple glass bottle. On it was written, 1 glass of milk. Daniel stared at it. Then Lily hugged him. You gave me food when I was invisible to everyone else, she whispered. You didn't just buy me milk. You made me believe I mattered. Daniel couldn't speak. Then Lily pulled away. And now I want to keep your kindness alive. She revealed that she had opened a small foundation that provided meals and education to poor children. Daniel looked at her in disbelief. You did all this? Lily smiled through tears. You taught me that kindness isn't something you repay once. You pass it on. Daniel hugged her tightly. But there was one final surprise. Lily reached into her bag and handed him a medical report. Daniel's smile disappeared. What is this? Your health report. Lily had become a doctor. She had discovered that Daniel had a serious heart condition during a routine checkup. He needed surgery. Daniel stared at her. You saved my life. Lily smiled. No, Mr. Daniel. She pointed toward the old glass bottle. You saved mine first. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He suddenly remembered that freezing evening years ago. A hungry little girl. A glass of milk. A promise. He had thought he was simply helping a child. He never imagined that kindness would one day come full circle. Years later, Lily stood in front of a room filled with children receiving meals from her foundation. She held up a glass of milk and said, Never think your kindness is too small to matter. You may forget the good thing you did today, but someone else may remember it for the rest of their life. And somewhere in the back of the room, Daniel watched her with tears in his eyes. The little girl who once couldn't afford a glass of milk had grown into a woman who was feeding thousands. And finally, Daniel understood something money had never taught him. The greatest fortune in life isn't what you keep. It's what you give away, and the lives you change because you gave it. Moral: never underestimate a small act of kindness. A meal, a kind word, or a helping hand may seem insignificant to you, but it can become someone's reason to keep going. True wealth isn't measured by how much you own, but by how much good you leave behind.